Good morning, fourth graders. This is our math e-learning lesson for Wednesday, May 13th. Today we're going to be working on lesson 134, which is geometric shapes. Now, geometric shapes are unlike your flat shapes. Geometric shapes take up space. So, I drew, and don't make fun of my drawings, I drew some of the figures, some of the shapes here on the board. So we have a cube, a rectangular solid, a pyramid, a cylinder, a sphere, and a cone. Now, a cube is a figure that is made up of, if you look at the sides of the cube, 6 sides, and it's made up of squares. Each side is a square. You have 6 sides, and if you look at each one individually, it looks like a square. Okay? An example would be a block. Another example would be a die if you have dice. Okay, so this is a cube. Okay? If you look at each side is a square, 6 sides. The next figure is a rectangular solid, and like a cube, a rectangular solid is a 6-sided figure, but if you look at the sides, your sides are made up of rectangles. Okay, your sides are rectangles. So a rectangular solid, a box, okay, it has rectangles on 6 sides. Okay, you have a pyramid. Okay, a pyramid is one that is most difficult to find. So looking around the house, it's difficult to come up with objects that have that pyramid shape. So there's a challenge that I put out to you, and it's see if you can find an object in your home that is truly a pyramid. If you do, take a picture of it, send it to me, and you'll get a few extra credit points in math for that. The closest I came to in looking at things around the house for a pyramid, which as I said is most difficult to find, was the top shape of this bottle of oil. Now, it's not a perfect pyramid by any means, but if you look, a pyramid is made up of a triangular, it's made up of a triangular shape sides. Okay, and then the pyramid could have 3 sides. It could have just 3 sides, or it could be 4-sided. If it's 4-sided, the bottom part will have the shape of a square. And if it's 3-sided, then the bottom would also be a triangle shape. Okay, so again, as I said, this was the best that I can do. It's sort of the top part of the bottle, sort of a triangle shape here, 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 and here. Now, a true pyramid would also come to a point at the top and not be flat. But as I said, that's the challenge that I put out to you, is to find a pyramid shaped object in your home, take a picture of it, and send it to me. Okay. Next we have is a cylinder, and the example of course that they always give you is like a can. In your book I think they mentioned about a can of soup. So a can is a cylinder. Your empty paper towel roll is a cylinder. Here's another cylinder. Cylinders are so easy to find at home. Okay, that's an easy one. Next, of course, a sphere. Okay, a sphere, a ball, an orange. Okay, your spheres. Again, pretty easy to find sphere-shaped objects at home. And the last of the geometric figures that we're looking at is a cone. Okay, I have this. Okay, a funnel has a cone, is a cone shape. Your cone shape is round at the bottom. The flat side is round, and then it's curved and comes to a point. So here is a cone. Another one that's pretty close to a cone is the top of this mustard container. The red part, okay, is a cone shape. Okay. Another object that I found that, sort of a cone is this, which is a nozzle for a hose, and the top part of this is round at the bottom, curved sides, but this one doesn't have a true point on top. This one has a flat top, but it's pretty close. This silver part, this is pretty close to being a cone shape. Okay, So it is kind of fun to look around the house to see if you have objects that have these different shapes. As I said, most of them are pretty easy to find without really looking too hard. You'll notice objects in your home that are these shapes. But the real challenge is to find that pyramid. So let me know if you find it. Okay, so in your textbook for lesson 134, you see the chart at the top of the page, which lists these geometric figures for you. Okay, and then it goes on to down to example number 3, that it shows another type of rectangular prism. Okay, or a rectangular solid. In this case, rather, it's not a prism, but it's a solid. Now remember, rectangular solid is made up of rectangles on 6 sides. Now, this one is a little bit different. This rectangular solid is made up of small cubes. Now, the best that I had here at home were these Legos, and they're not actually cubed shaped. Okay, these are actually your more of your rectangular solid, because they have 4 sides that are rectangles, and they actually have 2 sides that are squares. But this was the closest that I can get to help you understand what you see in the picture here. So for argument's sake for today, we are just going to pretend that these are actually cubes and not rectangular solids. So they're showing you the overall figure. Okay, so where you see the Legos, the overall figure is a rectangular solid, and they ask you to tell how many cubes are in that rectangular solid. How many cubes are there to make up this particular rectangular solid? Now, when you look at the front of this rectangular solid and you look at the cubes, you can see that you have a blue, a yellow, a white, a green, a red, and a light green. And so it's very clear that you can see 6 cubes by looking at the front of this rectangular solid. There are 6 cubes here. Okay, but what you also have to notice when you look at the picture, and it'll be easier when you look at the picture in your book. Okay, that's page 464. When you look at that rectangular solid made up of cubes, you will notice that the way it's drawn, you can see, and I'm just going to tilt this slightly, you can see that there is a back row. Okay, so behind what you're seeing here in front, you can see there is another row. And what you then have to realize is that if you are able to see another row behind it, you have to know logical reasoning. You need to know that that back row is not floating. That in order to have that back row here level with the front, there has to be another layer underneath what you can see. And so if I was to turn this around this way, you can then clearly see the back row, which is a gray, a yellow, and a green. Okay, so again, put it back to the way I first showed it to you. Okay, you can clearly see the 6 in front, but you need to see that the drawing in your book is done a little bit more like this, where you're able to see that there's a back row here, but then you also have to know, as I said, logical reasoning tells us there's a back row here. That row is not floating. There needs to be a row underneath it holding that up. So the question is, how many cubes are there to make up this one rectangular solid? So again, you're clearly able to see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 in front. You recognize now there are 6 in front, but there's another row behind, which is then saying, well, there has to be another 6 behind, because I can clearly see 3 up here, so I know there must be 3 down below to hold it up. So I'm able to see 6 in front, and I'm able to reason that there are 6 behind, 6 in the back row. So 6 in front plus 6 in the back row for a total of 12 cubes. All right, if you look over, we're going to go right over to the practice, and we're going to skip the first few in the practice and we'll come back to it. But you're going to look at E. I want you to look at E in the practice. It's another rectangular solid. Okay, so now I need to add to what I have here. Okay, just give me a minute so I can add to this. Okay, so now it looks like this. Okay, the picture that you see in your book looks like this. You can clearly see that you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You can see that you have 9 cubes in front. Once again, you can also see, based on how the picture is drawn, you can also see that there is another row behind. Again, logical reasoning, just thinking about what makes sense. You know that if you see these 3 back here, you know they are not floating. They have to have other cubes behind them to hold them up. So again, we have 9 in front. We can now see that there is a back row, which also means there must be 9 back here because these 3 are not floating, so they require 2 layers to hold them up. Same as what you see in front, you know you have behind. So if you have 9 in front, you know then that there are 9 behind it for a total of 18 cubes. What you need to remember when you are doing this, and sometimes the pictures, the illustrations that they give of these rectangular solids where you're asked to count up how many cubes there are, what you have to remember is, for example, this yellow one here, when we look at it, we only count this yellow one once. You don't count the front of it as 1 cube and the top another or the side another. You have to remember that that's a whole cube. So this is just 1 cube. So in this case, it's easy to see because they're in color, and you can see that this yellow one is just 1 cube. You need to be careful when you're looking at the illustrations because that's often something that I run into with students, is that they start to count different parts of the cube separately as though there are more cubes than what are really here. You have to remember that you are looking at a cube, and a cube looks like this. It has 6 sides. It's only 1 cube. Even though there are 6 sides, we don't count those 6 sides separately. This is just 1 cube. So when they're stacked, okay, right now we only have 2 cubes. Even though we can see them from the front, we can see 1 from the top, we can see 2 at this, on this side, or if we turn it, we can see 2 this. We don't count them separately. We can see there's 1 yellow cube, 1 pink cube. That's only 2 cubes. Again, we don't count the different sides as different cubes. So please be careful when you're looking at the drawings that are done in your book and you're asked to tell how many cubes there are. Make sure that you count what you see in front. Okay, that's all you need to do is just go down the front, count what you see in front, and then look to see how many rows are there behind. In this case, there's only 1 row behind it. So 9 in front and another 9 behind. Now imagine for a minute that there was a 3rd row. Let me just move this one around here and put it over here for a minute. So let's just pretend, though, that this was all filled in. If this was all filled in, you can see 9 in the front. You could recognize that there's a 2nd row, which means another 9. And then you can see that there's a back row. This green would be part of a back row, which would be another 9. So if you had 9 in the first row, 9 in the middle row, and then 9 in the back row, that's 3 9s, which is 27. So this would be a total of 27 cubes. So remember, you only really need to count what you see in front and then look to see how many rows behind this are there. And then there's going to be the same number in each row as what you see in the front row, because you know that the rest of them are not just dangling in the air. They're not hanging in the air. They have other layers underneath to hold them up. Okay, so I hope that helps you with the counting of the cubes. So let's just get back to the practice for 1 minute. We did E already, which you now know that there are 18 cubes there. Again, 9 in the front. You see another row behind that. 9 plus 9 is 18. Okay, the shape of each object listed below, well, obviously a basketball, a ball is a sphere. Okay, a shoebox, B, a shoebox. You have your rectangular sides. Okay, your rectangular sides like this. So a shoebox is a rectangular prism. Okay, an ice cream cone. An ice cream cone is a cone shape. Okay, and then what is the shape of the Egyptian landmark? And that is a pyramid. As I said before, that is the most difficult to find around the house. So take a look and see what you come up with. I did find one other thing besides looking at the top of this oil bottle as a pyramid. And that was this item. Now this is part of a hand grater, so there's a top that goes on. But I noticed that this has that square bottom, so it has that square shape at the bottom. The sides are somewhat of a triangle. Okay, again, it's not perfect, but you can see that triangle shape. It's missing the point on top. Okay, but each side is sort of that triangular shape just without the point on the top. It's made up of 4 sides. The bottom is a square. All it's missing is the point. If it all came to a point, it would be perfect pyramid shape. But again, really stretching to find something that came close to that pyramid. Okay? All right, so today, lesson 134, you're going to work on numbers 1 to 29. Numbers 1 to 29. Please work carefully. Take your time. Remember, you're working for accuracy, not speed. So take your time and do it correctly. Also, don't forget to spend some extra time on IXL or extra math. And please, if you need my help, please make sure you give me a call so I can help you out. Okay? Talk to you later. Bye.